Hello Chorda, fáilte róbaisteach arís go dtí ar srá Coirmcheoil agus bhí brise grinne feag camlan san nach Tommy Tarnash agus Tommy de Súl le bheith liv a sugdí an nolig is rá amachtaí éagsúla. Cuid cosú leis nocht a bheith tafata beidir réamhhafta go baile go dtíine, cuid eile bheith tacht bio an onad, so Tommy de Súla sibh chur an ólas maidir leis na hamachtaí sin ar fad. Misála míad go mór sibh agus bheith liv san onad gandát agus le cúnamh déanaí fad a bhin an, I suppose, an town go méid tarnation son. Agus, sais fógra das an nocht ná go méid chuirthús le taspántas nua an bhí se chuin taspántas do chuid Ealaín tóir den sá Ealaín tóir anna amráteach ó chorcaig Colm Murphy, tá séhir le Colm taobhhirir do man sa. Agus be sé sin á de spáintgrin son anad ó hús mí an nolag go dtí just dúrchar mis den nolag agus beis fanán slatan chur an áirthain chun fiochan taspántas son agus is mór an priviléid é dúine go bhfuil colm teachtamach chomhfada le Múscraí de ná bíon taspántas aige ar istí sa chathair, so tá míid anna bhhaocht a cholam agus a súil go mór lei sin. Tá míid anna bhhaocht a Ealaín na Gaeltachta gandát agus an Comhairle Ealaín chomá a thugann tacaíocht dún dus na Ealaín tóirí. Ons gur féadlann a le héadí don amacht seo a chur lína díobh sin nocht. So gur maithe goibh se Ealaín na Gaeltachta agus an Comhairle Ealaín agus chomáile sin tá míid anna bhhaocht a Ealaín Maxine a thugann annach chúnamh dún na videos seo a chur le chéile. So tá chlár álan roimh amach a nocht agus tá súil go mór leis na Ealaín tóirín idir áránthe ceoltóirí agus scéalathe den sco a chluisin de ríist. So ar an glár nacht beag Muintir chonal le cloistear dúis Connie ána agus cahal I canna agus chomáile sin ina damta tá ní seo chunar mac le an agus Francis gandáttar an piano. Beag Gobnait ní Chrualaoí an táránní úntach agus Concubhar Luasa le clos gandát agus an son bog méid ará go dtí Henry Cronin múntóir atá linn san onad le blianta fada agus atá fósa múnas tá míid anna has go bhfuil na rangan sanna gomachtarag. Beag Henry le clos I damta Tadhg Buckley ó Chéilleachair. An san beag Bríd Cranitch an iarstúrthóir ar Ionad Cultúrtha an Dr. Éalaín le clos agus tá míid anna bhreacht de Bríd as a bheith linn chomá. An san beag árán a grin ó Danielle ní Chéilleachair, beag scéal all na grin ó Seán ó Muimhneacháin. Agus an san beag Hammy Hamilton agus Tom Stevens le Chrualaoí an dúthaigh sa gandát le clos agus chumí cláusar brá álan leis an chlárnacht le Muintir Cronin, na driféircha Cronin, Éibhlís, Josie agus Máighréad. Tá míid anna bhreachtaí ar fad na Ealaín tóirí ar fad agus bunig anna hanamhas an gceol.
Díobh léir tastóid le trísláán Danielle, Den O'Keefe's agus the Weavers.
mort, Buckrát a bhí maingin down. We are ceann clár ge prant agus bain de long. The horde of frap quing my bother, Buckrát a bhí long for her. Air go tí straile fan quick on band of quing Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy, Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy. Da frabbish on mord, Yinish corn the crisher hum. Sma hat the left force a hum godlum gorshke buseng. Da res and borgid in a corsen bugger gum. Feachin to gasfil and no mother strobe and of micker ha. Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy, Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy. Herfele dosa, Buveron the Queen Pankin ha. La Sulis Fayoik on Yofi on Vanderam. She on Lashgil the forest, Saravul face of Island Bay. Gur Kelacon Morker and Roiger caught Tapigar Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy, Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy. Me her hanshin maratish, lesh na manavis of all the rum. Dorder dark not left out the ver offerim. Higher gatis like a slaughter and band of going. None his for hen frotter and glorious not farhig to Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy, Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy. For it's the Tadhg, vol na be callagog, mar a soldum se hongert gan fjordling a chalun clench. Dimmy some boher sholken and get the sir, rain the crew beam the forest gan folk and some lahi gan Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy, Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy. Go so hoigadin temple, Mar vi og for null vashuel, Dorker have shes a claws nor vi ball looked our bind the care. Dimmy so huigus more himple and Lassashire, agus forus a tor agus fodder contrafa for your Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy, Rex Faldi ho. Rex Faldi high headldy.
Dies Maríomh go léir cháde, Táman so inisí sceol agus táim héamh na lán le carigéanar díreach taobhhirdum. Tá sé hartar 8,000 amach narigi. Agus go bhfuilm carigéanar a Chonaill, sulla dos níam testíonúm díreach ahantas thuirta Croirmcheoil thug anna chair a fadum an tá bhreán sa álam, chun san scéalaí insint, agus Comhairle sin thug sé anna chairdum le éagsúlachtaí éagsúla a chur isteach an san bhreán. Olwan dovanar hanik soanas ravra dag loasha ver wamshula warin rimla ugesko herva Giantev dorma Paunirs mobliamus Noniak vayat vas Che donal mavun Unte aboigu clean agus caiici son lasan shahana shedir gan Happe gan Bríd gan anam in a free. Ach, Jago, Bogge Galle, Siet latter ding. She Cormac Mustor, Rauna Varog, Avi Maul Mashach Muintir Gerfum Buckley. Chréilleachair bar leis an Múscraí in a bhráig, Arbí Tadhg emir a chéile godó. Danielle Muckley Rachtas puin, Finin mahorach, Farchaimohi, Ogochan fiele Chonaill is an brodan on in, Slemo scan vregan Charkrieg. Synium Mochri Nagelschüss Naki Marjotu Tau Nacher Yannick Rorchat is Cree. Ach, nie weitze Movien, Moshur Darif Dring, Macharer Bramointer de Luberi Gree. Suchlaun Mochri non Chrualaoí Marvim for naar bachten manur gerhal sokri no Chrualaoí Negul Ognachati is an vanity might for mahers ni casle marvin she no lig shakoil on the lake ganfum Bralagal Ferrohev Nodun Da Weinsche Moshur Tadhg Dingen Santrol Sprade Jenning Yet de Chine Is Hine Éibhlís, Muinhneacháin, Muimhneacháin, Muintir Tadhg emir, O les mochí ar nashchom maris gomolach mahi gosashi harik emir is keledom míle magus gnéis.
Yes, mar rih garda tá sé háling an deisiail tráthnach an órán ile Chanaidh agus fairpléide síle agus de ífe tá a choíireacht agus obristeachchan sa chun siomsaíochta chur fáildoing is agus deachar nóman a féiring bóla sós agus choplórán agus Portugus ceolalas rud í bheagin le chéile agus deasan rud an níortaí anamh agus Chrualaoí bheith páirteach sa chláir seo. Sa gur míle maithreibh agus buine mé tríal as órán Éibhlís na blianta fada hin I bhíc Múscraí, bhí sé georis de rútagam is fada hin agur chanasa. Bhíc Múscraí ar san sargin cré, nóir bhaile ben armas an éidean ré. Droil dragón haar farige non Scan en ravil ved de figure vordes en Chonaill falledidla Chonaill Chonaill In Tadhg stad is de foik her size vi var tammel fader gan toriske all Ach, mi man or hannig lunger y'all Kwon Corky agus Tadhg bardas an Chonaill falledidla Chonaill De lig si beg nor chunnig si mar vi Tadhg an vachach agus Cronin cos fe A gin ron gan a chaimot fót No hanam an dial an tóta coing is an Chonaill falledidla Chonaill Rev to chach no rev to dol No her garodistachas is yadak in tol No ever chul her farige non Gur chastachas a hal guglun is an Chonaill falledidla Chonaill Ní raibh me cach na ní raibh me dul na níor garódas mo chosa is iad ach an tol A chalacht na an níiad sa bheiste pól Sciban chair mo chosa hal guglún is an Chonaill falledidla Chonaill agus Chonaill falledidla Chonaill Rágah.
agus fáilte go dtíine Ionad Cultúrtha cé nach bhfuil amán tám I higín tacaíocht ó bhainisteán na Cronin agus anna hásta go bhfuil an teicneolaíocht ar sa láthair ar fáil dúing na leitheanta seo chun go geol a thuairt chuig an Ionad Cultúrtha agus Muintir Múscraí. Mis Bríd Cranitch agus tám chun gáfísa a haintíomh a nocht an chéad ceann písa le Carolyn Captain O'Kane agus in dhéag san ní lisan tucaí brodéigen cúm, bud beidir gur féidirling commórtas a reachtáil chun áilebach teidil an tarna píasa. Bunaí táin.
Díobh léarcháide tá súlgamm go bhfuil si léir go maith agus go bhfuil si go tainmh as na ceolchoirmeacha atá áireachtáil ag an Ionad Cultúrtha ar Facebook agus ba bhór an pléisiúr do mé a bheith cursa máirmh sna ceolchoirmeacha. Inis an chéadarrán atá im chun a chainidíomh ná an pertín. Mar den áiseach agus clárach spaldan láimh ag an smadal a tréil Múscraí Seán hir sa lurí máling a bhí go tlán a hagan is le blian san chun a cailín áling is ag bárlas ná hín is bhí si a canna Shut trasnan amele fodder scantas Buckley go children veil ach hit on chlorine on spallen lawless a trahan vi a greg chen Van is galachte mother yamok sire even harder goes bessen mean ach man you walden Adored sa agus chur oite mar níl uimseach trágnistí Gibber mór lan féin ó hón beag pom a chósan leis ná haí Tá chuig an háile má chreicad snáite agus an chlórín san ná na bhí ach níor stan si gan Agus slán ag an leidí machas harneis go chlárach an menor chós Muintir fánach Múscraí ó gháile is níor a bhardlam ceir ná tua san áthir chun tá Seán bocht nach lo a háis harneis an scríocht Dúirt go cráite Love on trash beannas raw the car behind Queen's Road Seo hartáirsigh an stoire áling agus an máthir le bhór cuid gló Le ceistir bhála de láran láb an fechan an dráing í mar banain Seo dúirt sa lárach
The nights are long and lonely as I sit beside the fire, and my memories wander wildly as the warm flames leap higher, and I turn back the pages in the copy of the years that was written with much sunshine and occasionally with tears. In those youthful days of boyhood, we were full of hope and joy, and tomorrows stretched away to the horizon and the sky. Our lives were full of laughter, of music and of song, and with energy unbounded we could dance the whole night long. There were some things I regret, of course, but then they can't be changed, and sometimes there were happenings that cannot be explained. Of one such strange occurrence, a tale I will relate. I'll be as brief as possible. I know it is getting late. In my early days of manhood, my life was free from care. I was famous as a fiddler at every dance and fair. At crossroads and at weddings I was always to the fore, and I kept the feet a-tapping as the dancers called for more. Now, a friend of mine got married. It was in the month of May, and I, being the local fiddler, I was asked along to play. The crowds began to gather. They came from near and far on saddle, horse and bicycle. Some even came by car. And boys, oh, what a wedding. There was food and drink galore. To music sweet, the dancing feet brought lightning from the floor. And we had yardens many, and many a song was sung, and many a glass was raised in cheer by old as well as young. There was dining in the parlour, there was drinking in the hall, there was dancing in the garden with the seats around the wall. There were singers from all quarters, and a piper from Múscraí. So we played great stuff together when he got the pipes in tune. Festivities continued throughout the whole day long. So we played every tune we knew, and ne'er a note went wrong. And still the dance continued far, far into the night, till at length the crowds departed and went home by pale moonlight. Now 'twas past the hour of midnight when I started out for home on a trek across the countryside. I travelled all alone, with the full moon sailing overhead made night as bright as day, and sure I knew each twist and turn, and I couldn't go astray. In my head the hornpipes were dancing round and side, competing with the jig and reel, the polka and the slide, and all the songs and yarns that I heard throughout the night came back in waves of merriment, amusement and delight. I was going down Luasa, just below Jack Murphy's lane, when something rustled in the briars and someone called my name. I stopped and looked around me, and beside the hawthorn tree stood this wizened little fellow, no higher than my knee. Says he, "You brought your fiddle, and I know that you can use it. Come in and join the company, we badly need your music. Our fiddler has been called away, our piper is on strike. He won't play without a fiddler, only you can put him right." Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying that I was drunk. Well, I wasn't. I can swear I was as sober as a monk. Into the lists I ventured. Oh, boys, what a surprise. How can I describe to you the sight that met my eyes? There were fairies by the 100 inside that fairy ring, and on a little hillock stood himself the fairy king. On a golden throne beside him sat the dainty fairy queen, and on her feet the neatest shoes that I have ever seen. An ancient-looking piper was there, seated on a stone. He winked a roguish eye at me, which made me feel at home, so I settled down beside him and I rosined up the bow, and we started off together with the Bucks of Ardmore. We played the Mason's Apron and we played the Morning Dew, but then he played another dozen tunes that I never heard or knew. But the strangest thing about it was I still could play along, for the fiddle seemed to take control, and ne'er a note went wrong. When the fairies started dancing, bet all I'd ever seen. Like 100 dainty butterflies they flitted o'er the green, to the music of the chanter and the sweeping of the bow. Oh, they timed it to perfection as they danced at heel and toe. Their eyes were full of merriment, their faces full of glee, and I knew they liked my music by the way they smiled at me. Then the fairy queen approached me in her finery sublime, and she handed me in gratitude this massive golden coin. Now, 'twas time for the refreshments. We were served the best of fare. There was partridge, plover, pigeon, there was rabbit, mouse and hare. There were crickets, beetles, grasshoppers and bees without the stings. There was leg of lark and thrush's hark and little linnet's wings. I sampled every one of them. They tasted more delicious, but I didn't take too many that have thought me avaricious. And then, to compliment the feast, before we ceased to dine, they handed round wee mugs of ale and sweet blackberry wine. The king got up to make a speech. He stood at his full height. He thanked me kindly for my contribution to the night. And then, as a sign of gratitude, he gave me right on cue the tiniest little bottle of the fairy mountain dew. He then declared in royal tones, if ever you feel low, just take 2 sips within your lips. 'Twill set your heart aglow, and still 'twill never matter how often you imbibe. The magic bottle still will have the same amount inside. Just then, a cock crew somewhere. They vanished from my view. I found myself upon the grass, my clothes all wet with dew. I rubbed my eyes and wondered if it was all a dream, when in the first ray of morning light I noticed something gleam. Yes, there it was, my golden coin, all shining bright and new, and in my pocket, safe and sound, my fairy mountain dew. Well, mesmerised, I struggled home, straight into bed to topple. And just to aid a recovery, I took 2 sips from the bottle. Now, I played at all the gatherings, the weddings and the fairs, and people asked me where I got those new enchanted airs. I told them that I got them from the old fiddler Mickey Carey. Sure, who would believe me if I said I got them from a fairy? Now, old age at last has conquered me. Arthritis has me ruined. My music days are over now. The fiddle hangs untuned. But still I have my golden coin and my fairy mountain dew. Since the night I met the fairies in the liss below Knockroo.
Hello, Tom Stevens here, myself, are going to play a couple of tunes for you. The first set we're going to play is a slow air followed by a hornpipe. The slow air is a tune that I was sort of mucking about with recently because it's a great tune to show off the bottom end of a flute because it goes down to low C and so on. It actually always struck me as not a very traditional tune, but it is. It's a tune that everybody knows. It's called My Lagan Love. It turns out it was collected by, it's very associated with Herbert Hughes, and he actually published it in a book called Songs of Ulla. It was published in 1904. But in that he gives some very useful notes about it because it always sounded to me as if it wasn't a particularly traditional sound to a tune. You know, you can see the tonality of it is odd. But he said that he got it from a fiddle player called Francis Maxwine, and that he had gotten it from his father, who got it from one of the sappers that was working with the Ordnance Survey, because as you know, the Ordnance Survey started in what do you call the big long beach up in on the north of North Tyrone, I suppose. Anyway, so it actually was collected as an air, because I heard it played, and secondly, it was apparently in those days it was associated with a song called The Belfast Maid. But a man called Joseph Campbell, who was also a native of Inishowen, wrote the common words that we know to it now, where lagging streams sing lullabies. So anyway, and the hornpipe actually that I'm following it with is, I'm told by good authority, that it's called Pretty Maggie Morrissey, and I can thank Trinpal and for that, because I really have no name for it, you know. So it does appear that is what it's called. So here we have My Lagan Love, followed by Pretty Maggie Morrissey. second set of tunes are two jigs. The first one, again, is a tune that I just came up with it there last week because, as I said, I was experimenting with the low end of flutes that do have flute and keys on them, and I developed this tune, you know. So again, it has elements of other tunes, but then what tune doesn't, you know? And there's already 10,000 up in there, you know. But following it is I've decided I'm trying to come up with a name for it, and I think I'll call it Villiers Street, which was 25 Villiers Street was a very famous flute making workshop in London in the 19th century, and a lot of the very famous makers, including Wilde and Willis and Goodlad and various other people, worked at that address, you know. So I thought Villiers Street was a good name for the first jig. The second jig is a tune that everybody knows. It's Old Tipperary, I believe, is what it's called.
Bogrin, 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 dun tendina, Bogrin's lash vein, Bogrin, dun tendina, Chrualaoí, Chrualaoí, Chrualaoí Shandina, Chrualaoí Sníochacha is Bogjoch gan tendina. Of Kirka, of Kirka, of Kirka dun tendina. Of Kirka's lurinimma, say word dun tendina. Chrualaoí, Chrualaoí, Chrualaoí Shandina, Chrualaoí Sníochacha is bogdog dan tendina. Fjolur, fjolur, fjolur dan tendina. Fjolur sprensud, sehurt dan tendina. Chrualaoí, Chrualaoí, Chrualaoí shandina. Chrualaoí snígachosa is fogdog dan tendina. Bobrin, bobrin, bobrin dan tendina. Bobrin is large fame. Bobrin dan tendina. Tagagaurin wir gommis minchag vainga. Minchag vainga. Brishan sheathan cream namma. Dúirte bhaile, dúirte bhaile. Níl áite gamma grúin íadach, sísim hatta, sísim hatta. Legan ma hatta tríde, fuide bhaile, fuide bhaile. Tagagaurin bhui gommis minchag vainga. Brishan sheathan cream amma dúirte bhaile. Níl áite gamma grúin íadach sísim hatta. Legan ma hatta tríde fuide bhaile. Tagagaur sa chuile gommis Chrualaoí. Ní sa dí sé ní bhaimach baran netting. Curga down don free gale stumpan bata. Shudar velakun clear the vado vala. Shin portnock villigun bibera, Ealaín laddie. Portnock villigun bibera, Ealaín laddie. Seán ó Gaeltachta pibras, bíoch sé marsin. Seán ó Gaeltachta pibras, bíoch sé marsin. Tagagaurin bhui gommis minchag vainga. Brishan sheathan cream amma dúirte bhaile. Níl áite gamma grúin íadach sísim hatta. Legan ma hatta trí